Continuing our series in Judges, we're in chapter 2 today, where we read, "The angel of the Lord went up from Gilgal to Bochim and said, I brought you out of Egypt and led you into the land I had promised to your ancestors. I also said, I will never break my covenant with you. You are not to make a covenant with the inhabitants of this land. You are to tear down their altars, but you have not obeyed me. What have you done? Therefore I now say, I will not drive out these people before you. They will be thorns in your sides, and their gods will be a trap for you." When the angel of the Lord had spoken these words to all the Israelites, the people wept loudly. So they named that place Bochim and offered sacrifices there to the Lord. Previously, when Joshua had sent the people away, the Israelites had gone to take possession of the land, each to his own inheritance. The people worshipped the Lord throughout Joshua's lifetime and during the lifetime of the elders who outlived Joshua. They had seen all the Lord's great works he had done for Israel. Joshua, son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died at the age of 110. They buried him in the territory of his inheritance, in Timnath Heres, in the hill country of Ephraim, north of Mount Gaash. That whole generation was also gathered to their ancestors. After them, another generation rose up who did not know the Lord or the works he had done for Israel. The Israelites did what was evil in the Lord's sight. They worshipped the Baals and abandoned the Lord, the God of their ancestors who had brought them out of Egypt. They followed other gods from the surrounding peoples and bowed down to them. They angered the Lord, for they abandoned him and worshipped Baal and the Ashtaroths. The Lord's anger burned against Israel, and he handed them over to marauders who raided them. He sold them to the enemies around them, and they could no longer resist their enemies. Whenever the Israelites went out, the Lord was against them and brought disaster on them, just as he had promised and sworn to them. So they suffered greatly. The Lord raised up judges who saved them from the power of their marauders, but they did not listen to their judges. Instead, they prostituted themselves with other gods, bowing down to them. They quickly turned from the way of their ancestors who had walked in obedience to the Lord's commands. They did not do as their ancestors did. Whenever the Lord raised up a judge for the Israelites, the Lord was with him and saved the people from the power of their enemies, while the judge was still alive. The Lord was moved to pity whenever they groaned because of those who were oppressing and afflicting them. Whenever the judge died, the Israelites would act even more corruptly than their ancestors, following other gods to serve them and bow and worship to them. They did not turn from their evil practices or their obstinate ways. The Lord's anger burned against Israel, and he declared, because this nation has violated my covenant that I made with their ancestors and disobeyed me, I will no longer drive out before them any of the nations Joshua left when he died. I did this to test Israel and see whether or not they would keep the Lord's ways by walking in it as their ancestors had. The Lord left these nations and did not drive them out immediately. He did not hand them over to Joshua. Judges chapter 2. And that chapter describes the pattern that we're going to see throughout the remainder of this book, 19 chapters to go. Israel is not faithful in this book, and they rebel against the Lord, start worshiping foreign gods. He allows them to be oppressed by an enemy nation, and after so many years, usually a few decades, they cry out to him. He raises up a judge. That judge delivers them. They get freed from their problem, and then they go back and do the same thing. They start worshiping other gods. He has a nation oppress them. After a few decades or so, they cry out. And the book spans about 450 years. It's a sad pattern. It's a dark book. And sad to say, it often describes how we are. And not just even non-Christians, non-church. I think it's something for us to be sensitive to as Christians. How often we quote-unquote worship other gods. Yeah, we don't have physical idols, but we do get distracted by things and trust in those things more than God. The Bible speaks of a God named Mammon, and that's money. That's certainly a struggle for us today. We need money, and money helps, obviously, is necessary to live and pay for things. But we get obsessed with it and how much of it we have and how much we're growing it. When the Bible's pretty clear that the Lord is our provider and He has the means, He has endless means to supply our needs. But we end up trusting in the systems and in our programs and our plans and our investments and not that those things are inherently evil of themselves, but when we are trusting in them, when we are looking to them as our Savior, and not looking at the Lord's provision, that even if those things all crash today, He has means to supply our needs. That's where it becomes a problem. So money, obviously, sex is an issue we're going to see in this book, and it's always an issue. I mean, how many famous leaders have gotten taken out because we're all tempted. We're all tempted, and the devil certainly knows how weak our flesh is. Men are very, we're easily tempted that way, and we have to exercise self-control. And we can even see from men that have been brought down that some very good men have been brought down in the spotlight. So we should take serious heed to ourselves and beware that, man, if he can do it, I can do it. We're going to read about Solomon in a while, a few books away, but Solomon, God made him the wisest man on all the earth, before anybody before him and probably anybody after him. And this area got him. He ended up accumulating 700 wives and 300 concubines. Now, there's no way I'd ever accumulate 1,000 women in my life. But again, if he's the wisest man that ever lived, if he could fall into that trap and multiply women, then I'm susceptible to that myself, and so are you. Another idol today that people put trust in is politics. Watching Christians, the defeat and attitude when certain people that they didn't want to get elected, the defeat I see in some Christians, it's just your perspective's off. And I've been guilty myself at times. And this isn't an area I struggle with now, but that doesn't mean that I couldn't do it again. Abraham committed the same sins 25 years apart when we read through Genesis. He lied about who his wife was twice, and that was a 25-year time span between them, roughly. So we can go a long time having, quote-unquote, conquered a sin and fall back into it. So while this is an area I don't think I struggle with right now, and I say think because whoever thinks they're struggling with something, I mean, sometimes we know we are, but so many times we lie to ourselves. But politics is one of those issues. The wrong person gets in, I can see the depression. It's like, who's your God? Is God still on the throne when the wrong person gets elected? Or conversely, when the right person gets elected? You would think the millennial kingdom had arrived. For those who are premillennial, for amillennial, it's already here. And postmillennial, obviously, are awaiting it. But you would think, like Christ, the second coming had happened. The way people rejoice when certain people win. And yeah, maybe they deliver somewhat, but they don't ultimately deliver. There's still issues that they still have. There's things they promised to do that they don't get done. Things they promise not to do, sometimes they do. And that's just the nature of the business. And the Lord doesn't want our trust in a politician, in an election. He wants our trust in Him. So the book of Judges is a really important book for us, not to be look at the people in the book and be shocked as if we're different than them. We're not that different. I'm not that different. So, a sober, somber message here, as I just talk about an overview of what we're going to see in this book. It is in the United States, Thanksgiving. So to all my viewers, if you're watching this today, I hope you have a wonderful, safe, happy Thanksgiving with friends, family, whoever you're gathered with. If you're alone and have nobody, I wish I could get together with you. I could have you over at my house, or I'm going to be working today. That you could just join me at my work and have someone to hang with. I pray the Lord will bless you in some special way, and bring people into your life, fill your life, and on that note, also, that's why it's good to be in a church. Churches can be good at providing a place for those who are alone. There's often in a churches, especially if it's reasonably sized, people who would be glad to have you over. But anyway, again, hope you all have a happy, blessed, and safe Thanksgiving. Be careful out there, especially some of the states with the weather that is rolling around. Sometimes it's safer to stay home if you're able to. But thank you for watching. Hope to see you here tomorrow.